Small steps lead to big achievements is a profound truth about the journey of life, success, and growth. It reminds us that no mountain is conquered in a single leap, no masterpiece painted with a single stroke. It speaks to the power of persistence, the beauty of beginnings, and the silent strength in the seemingly insignificant. Every great achievement is born from humble beginnings, nurtured with steady progress, and built upon the foundation of small, consistent steps. You ever stop and think about how the ocean meets the shore? How those waves roll in, quiet and steady, shaping the land grain by grain? It doesn't shout its intentions. It doesn't demand the world to notice. Yet over time, the shoreline shifts, carved by the persistence of water against rock. That's how the most remarkable transformations happen: silent, deliberate, and constant. There's something captivating about beginnings, isn't there? That first step into the unknown, trembling yet determined. You look ahead and the road stretches far beyond what your eyes can see, daunting and overwhelming. Doubts whisper in your ear. Who are you to dream so big? But here's the truth. Every towering oak was once a fragile seed, buried in the darkness of soil, waiting for its time to grow. Who's a time to grow? You don't need to see the whole path to take the first step. You just need to move, to trust that each step will lead you closer to something greater. That's the magic of it. Small doesn't mean insignificant. Small means manageable. Small means approachable. It means you can start right now with what you have, where you are. You ever seen a potter at work? They don't rush. They shape the clay with care, their hands moving with intention. Each rotation of the wheel is a small step toward the final form. But here's the catch. The clay doesn't know it's becoming art. It simply yields to the potter's touch, trusting the process. And maybe that's what we all need to do. Yield to the process, trust the journey, and let the small steps shape us into something magnificent. But don't be fooled into thinking the road will always be smooth. No, it will be uneven, filled with moments that test your patience and your faith. There will be days when the steps feel too small, too slow, as though you're standing still. You'll wonder if all your effort matters, if the destination is even worth it. But let me tell you something. Progress, no matter how small, is still progress. Imagine a drop of water falling on a stone. One drop doesn't seem like much, does it? But over time, those drops wear down the stone, leaving their mark. It's not about the power of one drop. It's about the consistency of many. The same is true for us. One act of kindness, 1 hour of learning, one moment of courage. It adds up, shaping us, molding us, creating a legacy. And yet, how often do we discount the small victories? We overlook them, waiting for the big moment to celebrate, to feel accomplished. But those small victories are the building blocks of something extraordinary. They're the whispers of progress, the proof that we're moving forward. Don't ignore them. Celebrate. There's a rhythm to life, a cadence that calls us to move at our own pace. Some people sprint, their eyes fixed on the horizon, while others walk, taking in the scenery along the way. Neither is wrong as long as the steps continue. But let me tell you something. It's not the speed that matters, it's the persistence. The tortoise didn't win the race because it was the fastest. It won because it kept moving, step by step, refusing to stop. You may not see the results right away. You may plant seeds today and not see them bloom for years. But that's the nature of growth. It takes time. You have to water the soil, tend to the weeds, and trust that beneath the surface, something beautiful is happening. And one day when you least expect it, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. Think about the people who have changed the world. They didn't start with grand gestures or sweeping revolutions. They started with small, quiet actions. A word spoken, a hand extended, a spark ignited. Those small actions rippled outward, touching lives, building movements, shaping history. And you, yes, you, are no different. You carry the same potential, the same power to create change, to achieve greatness. But it starts with a single step. It starts with showing up, even when you're unsure. It starts with believing that your small efforts, repeated over time, will lead to something extraordinary. There's a quiet power in patience, in persistence, in trusting the process. It's not glamorous and it's not always exciting, but it's where the real magic happens. It's where dreams are built one brick at a time. So take that first step, and then another, and another. Let the momentum carry you. Let the journey transform you. And when you stumble, and you will, because we all do, remember this: falling is not failing. Falling is a chance to learn, to grow, to rise stronger. It's part of the process, part of the path. So get back up, take another step, because every step matters. Every effort counts. And one day you'll look back and realize that the small steps you took weren't small at all. They were the foundation of something monumental. You know, sometimes life has this funny way of testing just how much you believe in the power of small steps. It puts you in situations where the progress feels so slow, so insignificant, that it's almost laughable. You work and you toil, but nothing seems to change. Those moments, those painstaking stretches of time, are where most people give up. They convince themselves it's not worth the effort. But here's what they don't see. Beneath the surface, something is always happening. It's like when you plant a seed. For weeks, maybe months, it looks like nothing is happening. You water it, you nurture it, but the soil gives no indication that anything is growing. You might even be tempted to dig it up just to see if there's any life at all. But what you don't realize is that beneath that soil, roots are spreading, establishing the foundation for something that will eventually break through and reach toward the sky. The same is true for you. Every effort you make, every small action you take is like nurturing that seed. The results may not be visible right away, but the foundation is being built. And isn't it interesting how often we underestimate the power of persistence? We live in a world that glorifies instant results, immediate gratification. Everything around us seems to say, if it doesn't happen quickly, it's not worth pursuing. But that's a lie. The truth is, the best things in life take time. They require dedication, patience, and an unwavering belief that your efforts will pay off, even when there's no evidence to prove it yet. Think about the first time you learned to ride a bike. It wasn't easy, was it? You probably fell more times than you can count. You scraped your knees, you wobbled, and for a moment you might have thought, this isn't for me. But you kept trying. You kept pedaling, balancing, and trusting that one day it would click, and then it did. Suddenly you were gliding down the street, the wind in your hair, and all those falls seemed worth it. That's the power of small steps. Each wobble, each fall, each attempt brought you closer to mastery, even if it didn't feel like it at the time. The same principle applies to everything in life, whether it's learning a new skill, building a career, or mending a broken relationship. Progress is rarely linear. It's messy and unpredictable, but that's where the beauty lies. Because in those messy, imperfect steps, you discover your strength. You realize that every stumble is a lesson, every setback an opportunity to grow. And let's not forget about the courage it takes to begin in the first place. Starting small doesn't mean starting easy. It takes bravery to admit that you don't have all the answers, that you're not where you want to be yet. It takes humility to take that first step, knowing that you might fail. But here's the thing. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a part of it. Every failure is a stepping stone, a chance to refine your approach and try again. The world is full of stories that prove this. Think about inventors, artists, and pioneers who achieved greatness. Their journeys were anything but smooth. They faced rejection, criticism, and countless obstacles. But they didn't let those challenges define them. They kept going, one step at a time, until their small actions compounded into extraordinary results. Take Thomas Edison, for example. He's often celebrated as one of the greatest inventors in history, but what people forget is how many times he failed before he succeeded. He tried and failed thousands of times before perfecting the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,0,0,0,0 ways that won't work." That mindset, the ability to see failure as part of the journey, is what sets successful people apart. But it's not just about big inventions or world-changing ideas. This principle applies to everyday life as well. Think about a habit you've tried to build, like exercising regularly or eating healthier. It's not the big dramatic changes that make a difference. It's the small, consistent actions, choosing to take the stairs instead of the elevator, swapping a sugary snack for a piece of fruit, or carving out 10 minutes for a quick workout. Over time, those small choices add up, transforming your habits and ultimately your life. And you know what's even more powerful? The ripple effect of those small steps. When you take a step forward, no matter how small, you inspire others to do the same. Your progress becomes a beacon of hope, a reminder that change is possible. You may not even realize the impact you're having, but trust me, it's there. People are watching, learning, and finding courage in your example. It's easy to feel like your efforts are insignificant, like you're just one person in a world of billions. But think about a single drop of water. Alone, it might seem small, but when it joins with others, it becomes a stream, a river, an ocean. The same is true for your actions. Each small step contributes to something greater, something far beyond what you can see in the moment. So don't underestimate the power of starting small. Don't let the enormity of the journey ahead paralyze you. Break it down, focus on the next step, and then the one after that. Celebrate each milestone, no matter how small, because those milestones are proof that you're moving forward, that you're growing, that you're becoming the person you're meant to be. And if you ever find yourself doubting whether it's all worth it, look back. Look at how far you've already come. Look at the progress you've made, the challenges you've overcome, the lessons you've learned. Let that be your motivation to keep going. Because the truth is, every step you take, no matter how small, is a step closer to the life you want, the dreams you're chasing, and the impact you're meant to make. Keep going, keep believing, keep taking those small steps, because one day you'll look back and realize that what seemed small was, in fact, monumental, that every step mattered, that every effort was worth it, and that you are capable of achieving far more than you ever imagined. Life has a way of teaching us lessons in whispers before it ever shouts. There's something poetic about the way it gently nudges us forward, offering opportunities to grow through the smallest actions and choices. Yet so often we miss it because we're too busy looking for the big dramatic moments that we think define success. We crave the grand victories, the overnight transformations, the lightning bolt moments of clarity. But what we forget is that those moments, when they do come, are built on a foundation of quiet, steady work that no one sees. Imagine a sculptor working on a block of marble. Each stroke of the chisel removes just a little stone, barely noticeable at first. The piece doesn't take shape immediately. It's a process of subtraction, refinement, and patience. The sculptor doesn't focus on revealing the masterpiece all at once. Instead, they commit to the small, deliberate actions that over time bring their vision to life. It's the same with us. Every little effort we make, every single step we take, chips away at the barriers between us and our goals. And yet there's an irony in how we undervalue these small steps. We see them as unremarkable, too ordinary to matter, but think about it. When does the extraordinary ever begin as extraordinary? Greatness almost always starts in the shadows, where no one is watching. The writer starts with a single word on a blank page. The runner starts with one lap around the block. The entrepreneur starts with one idea scribbled in a notebook. It's the courage to begin and the discipline to continue that sets everything else in motion. There's something sacred about consistency, isn't there? About showing up even when it's hard, even when progress feels slow. Consistency is what separates fleeting effort from lasting impact. It's the difference between dabbling and committing, between dreaming and doing. And the thing is, consistency doesn't require perfection. It doesn't demand that every step be flawless or every day be productive. It simply asks that you keep going, that you show up for yourself and your goals, one small step at a time. Think about the seasons and how they change. Spring doesn't announce its arrival with a single day of sunshine. It creeps in slowly, melting the snow, coaxing the buds to bloom, warming the earth bit by bit. The transformation is so gradual that we hardly notice it happening. But then one day, we look around and realize that the world has come alive again. That's how progress works. It's quiet, almost imperceptible at times, but it's always happening if we're willing to stay the course. There will be moments when the road ahead feels impossibly long, when you question whether your efforts are making a difference. In those moments, it's easy to feel small, to feel like the weight of your dreams is too much to carry. But let me remind you of something. Even the smallest light can pierce the deepest darkness. A single match can ignite a fire. A single spark can set the world ablaze. The match shouldn't count. Your cribs should be. You don't have to do everything all at once. You just have to do the next right thing. And while you're taking those steps, remember to be kind to yourself. Growth isn't a straight line, and neither is progress. There will be setbacks, detours, and days when it feels like you're moving backward. But those moments don't define you. What defines you is how you respond, how you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about rising every time you do. You might not realize it, but every small step you take is teaching you something. It's teaching you patience, perseverance, and the value of hard work. It's shaping your character, building your confidence, and preparing you for the bigger challenges that lie ahead. Each step is a lesson, a building block, a piece of the puzzle that will eventually reveal the full picture. And when you finally see it, you'll understand that none of it was wasted, not a single moment, not a single effort. The journey of small steps isn't just about reaching a destination. It's about who you become along the way. It's about discovering your strength, your resilience, your capacity to keep going when the odds are stacked against you. It's about finding joy in the process, in the little victories that remind you why you started in the first place. Because in the end, it's not just the destination that matters. It's the journey. It's the steps you take, the lessons you learn, and the person you become along the way. And don't forget that small steps often lead to connections, to opportunities, to moments that change everything. When you take that first step, you open yourself up to possibilities you never could have imagined. You meet people who inspire you, who challenge you, who help you see the world and yourself in a new light. You find doors opening where there were once only walls. But none of that happens if you don't start. None of it happens if you don't take that first, small, seemingly insignificant step. Think about how rivers carve canyons over time. It's not a single rush of water that does it. It's the relentless flow day after day, year after year. The water doesn't question whether it's making an impact. It simply moves forward, trusting that its persistence will shape the land. And it does. Over time, the river leaves its mark, creating something breathtaking and enduring. You are no different. Your persistence, your effort, your refusal to give up, it all matters. It's all shaping something incredible, even if you can't see it yet. And here's the thing. There's no timeline for success. There's no deadline for growth. Everyone moves at their own pace, and that's okay. Some people seem to sprint ahead, reaching milestones quickly, while others take their time, moving steadily but surely. It doesn't matter how fast you go. What matters is that you keep going. Progress is progress, no matter how slow it may seem. And sometimes the slower journey is the one that leaves the deepest, most lasting impact. So take your time, trust the process, believe in the power of small steps, even when it feels like they're not enough, because they are. They are more than enough. They are the foundation of everything you will achieve, the path to every dream you will realize, the thread that weaves together the story of your life. And one day, you'll look back and see that those small steps weren't small at all. They were the moments that defined you, the moments that made all the difference. There's something mesmerizing about the way time unfolds when you're focused on small steps. At first, it feels like nothing is moving. You're putting in the effort, you're showing up, you're doing the work. But the results seem so far away, yet slowly and steadily things begin to shift. It's almost imperceptible at first, like the way the sun rises in the early morning, soft, gradual, and unnoticed by many. But soon the light fills the sky and everything becomes clear. That's how progress works. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And you only see its brilliance when you keep going long enough to notice. Think about the rhythm of your heartbeat. It's a small, constant motion that you rarely think about, yet it keeps you alive. Every beat is vital. Every pulse matters. If something so small, so quiet can sustain life itself, imagine what your own small actions can sustain. Imagine what they can build over time. The simple act of showing up, of putting one foot in front of the other, creates a rhythm of its own, a steady, unyielding pace that propels you forward. But let's talk about the struggle, because let's face it, the path of small steps isn't always easy. There are days when the effort feels monotonous, when you wonder if you're even moving at all. You may look around and see others achieving their dreams seemingly overnight, and it's tempting to compare. It's tempting to think that their rapid success somehow diminishes. It steals your joy, your focus, and your momentum. The only journey that matters is your own. The only pace that matters is the one that allows you to keep going. It's in those quiet, unseen moments that your character is forged. When no one is watching, when no one is cheering you on, when it feels like no one cares, that's when you discover what you're made of. It's easy to stay motivated when the results are visible, when the accolades are pouring in, when the world is clapping for you. But what about when the room is silent? What about when it's just you and the work? That's where the magic happens. That's where the foundation is built. You see, the most beautiful things in life often take the longest to grow. Think about a pearl. It starts as a tiny irritant inside an oyster, a grain of sand, nothing more. Over time, layer after layer of nacre is added, and what was once insignificant becomes something rare and valuable. But that transformation doesn't happen overnight. It takes patience. It takes time. It takes the willingness to let the process unfold at its own pace. Your journey is no different. And here's something to remember. Every small step you take is a declaration of hope. It's a way of saying, I believe in what I'm working toward. I believe it's worth the effort. That kind of belief is powerful. It has the ability to move mountains, to overcome obstacles, to push you through the darkest days. Because when you believe in what you're doing, when you believe in yourself, there's no limit to what you can achieve. When some people are stuck, blind, stuck, and broken, they look for other people to fix them and prevent us from being hindered and obscured by the limits of their own mind. But belief isn't enough on its own. It has to be paired with action. It has to be backed by the willingness to do the hard, unglamorous work. And that's where so many people falter. They want the results, but they're not willing to take the steps to get there. They want the glory without the grind. But the truth is, the grind is what makes the glory meaningful. It's what gives your achievements depth and significance. That's why it's so important. Every time you take a step, no matter how small, you're proving to yourself that you're capable. You're building trust in your own ability to follow through. And that trust is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Over time, those small steps don't just lead to big achievements. They lead to a stronger, more confident, more resilient version of yourself. There's a reason why so many of the world's greatest thinkers and leaders emphasize the power of persistence. They understand that success isn't about giant leaps. It's about steady progress. It's about putting in the work day after day, even when it's hard, even when it's thankless. It's about believing that the effort you're making today will pay off tomorrow, even if you can't see how yet. Think about the process of learning. When you first start something new, it feels awkward and uncomfortable. You make mistakes. You struggle to find your footing. But with each attempt, you get a little better. You gain confidence. You start to see progress. And before you know it, what once felt impossible becomes second nature. That transformation doesn't happen because of one big breakthrough. It happens because of all the small steps you took along the way. And here's the thing. Those small steps aren't just about getting you closer to your goal. They're about teaching you who you are. They're about showing you what you're capable of, what you can endure, what you can achieve. They're about building the kind of inner strength that no one can take away from you. Because when you know how to take small steps, you know how to keep moving forward no matter what life throws at you. It's important to remember that every step matters, even the ones that feel insignificant. Sometimes the smallest actions have the biggest impact. A kind word, a thoughtful gesture, a simple act of courage. These things can change the course of a day, a life, a world. You may not always see the ripple effects of your actions, but they're there, spreading out in ways you can't imagine. And don't underestimate the power of momentum. When you take one small step, it becomes easier to take the next, and then the next. Before you know it, you've built a habit, a routine, a way of moving through the world that propels you forward. That momentum is what carries you through the tough times, the slow times, the moments when progress feels impossible. It's what keeps you going when everything else tells you to stop. But let me tell you something else. You're not in this alone. There are people who believe in you, even if they don't always say it. There are people who are inspired by your journey, even if they don't show it. Your small steps have the power to encourage others, to show them what's possible, to remind them that they too can take steps toward their own dreams. You may never know the full extent of your impact, but that doesn't mean it isn't real. Every great story begins with a single moment, a single choice, a single step. And while the ending may be grand and triumphant, it's the journey that makes it meaningful. It's the quiet perseverance, the unnoticed efforts, the times when you chose to keep going even when it was hard. Those are the moments that define you. So keep going, keep believing, keep taking those small steps, because even when it doesn't feel like it, you're making progress. Even when it seems like nothing is changing, you're building something extraordinary. And one day, when you look back on all the steps you've taken, you'll see just how far you've come. You'll see that every effort mattered, that every choice made a difference, that every step brought you closer to the person you were always meant to be. In the end, it's the journey of small steps that shapes the grandest achievements. Each effort, no matter how tiny, contributes to the bigger picture, laying the foundation for growth, strength, and success. Life isn't about leaps and bounds. It's about steady, unwavering persistence. The smallest acts, repeated with faith and determination, hold the power to transform not just your circumstances, but the very essence of who you are. Remember, every step you take is a testament to your courage, your resilience, and your belief in what's possible. The road may be long and the progress may be slow, but every effort matters. So embrace the process, trust in your journey, and keep moving forward. One day, when you look back, you'll see that the small steps you took weren't just steps. They were the building blocks of a life filled with purpose, growth, and extraordinary achievement. And